take it away.
Hey everybody, my name is decosmic. This is going to be 10,000 Bullets. We're going to be playing on the PAL version. This game came out on the PS2 in the greatest year of gaming, 2005. It is directed by Yoshitaka Murayama, the director famously of Suikoden. But this game is actually closer to like Max Payne than it is Suikoden. So we'll just get right into it and we'll explain some things as we go here. We're actually going to be starting on a save file that starts on very easy difficulty. This is not a difficulty that you can select from the beginning of the game, so I had to die like 16 times or something ridiculous on this save file and then save it at the first level in order to do this. But this is how we save like 2 minutes and also a lot more playing on very easy. So, without further ado, in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so heading into the first level here, there's a bunch of like exposition at the beginning of this game that actually has like no combat. It's just a bunch of text skipping. So I actually elected when I created the boards for this game to start the runs from the first actual playable level here. So the majority of this run we're going to be playing as Crow, who is a hitman living in Ireland. He works for a Rome-based crime syndicate known as the Tonio family. Crow has this ability called it's a gunslinger ability, which allows him to slow down time. It's actually like not just something that he is able to experience. I guess like it's a real world thing that other people are aware of happens. And there's like, you can inherit these powers from somebody. He actually inherits them from his mother. And the majority of the game, he's actually seeking to get revenge on the person that killed his mother. He has really no idea who this is as far as I remember. But he has a buddy named Judas. That's not a name that requires any foreshadowing, I think. But we'll get to him in a moment. So, as you can see here, we have a dash ability. It's actually like a melee ability that Crow has. That's what we're using for movement tech primarily. And we have reticles that actually will focus on an enemy. And the closer the reticle is to the center of the circle, the higher likelihood that our bullets actually have to land. So, and when that reticle turns red, that actually means we're going to get a crit shot. So, if you're in slow-mo, it actually makes it much easier to get those crits. But the big way to save time in this game is by not going for the slow-mo stuff at all, because it actually just makes the aiming slower. This guy's name is Keats Eichmann, I believe his name is. And he's actually, we're not going to be able to defeat him here at the beginning. But we are going to just kind of hope that he's like one of the most random bosses in the game. And he's right at the start of the run. We have to fight him twice, which is super cool. But he has a bunch of abilities where he can like shadow clone jutsu himself. But he also just runs around like really hunched over doing the Naruto run. So I guess it checks out. But we're going to just try and get some crit shots on him and hope that he doesn't do any of that to delay our damage. Right there he goes. He's down, easy peasy, nothing doing. And we're just going to keep going. Now, Judas is actually going to show up here with his Uzi. There he is. We see him for like a frame. This is also where we get introduced to this game's excellent feature of having auto text skipping. So you can hold down the R1 button and the X button or circle button, I think. Those are both like the ways to mash through text in this game. And it will just frame one, skip all the text that you encounter in these scenarios where the characters are talking. And this saves like 2 or 3 seconds. It basically just cuts whatever time you were spending skipping text in half. So if a text sequence was like 10 seconds, now it's down to 5 seconds. It's an awesome quality of life thing for replaying this game that I just wish more games had. It's so cool. It's great. Getting into this next area here, we're going to actually talk about some of these skills that we can use here. So down in the bottom left corner, you're going to see the slots that we have. There we go. Okay. I got almost all those guys. And we just used the blind shot ability using the L2 button. So you can have loadouts of abilities in this game that either allow you to do evasive or offensive maneuvers. They use the gun gauge, which is the orange gauge on the bottom of the screen underneath the health bar. And think of that basically like your MP. So all abilities have a cost, however small. Even slow-mo has a cost. It will just like, tick down a little bit. But the blind ability just allows Crow to shoot in 2 directions, essentially, at once. And it's very John Woo. John Woo. This game owes a lot to John Woo. A lot of games do, but you know, this game especially is good about it. We're gonna get to fight Keats here again. After this, this just looks like a render from the first Devil May Cry. It just looks like you're equipping the handguns from that game really quickly. But now we're gonna go ahead and fight Keats again. This is where we're gonna actually defeat him. And we're just going to hope that he doesn't call out a bunch of his clones. There's also an ability where he dances and he's just invincible, which I don't particularly feel like I'm invincible whenever I dance. I feel rather vulnerable when I do that, but I don't know if anybody else has experienced anything different. Maybe dancing is just the key to invulnerability that I haven't unlocked yet.
I'm with you, honestly.
Oh, here he goes. Yeah, he just got the shadow clones out here. Now, you're going to notice here, too, that Keats is... when we reach a certain amount of damage, he's going to get knocked down. There's the shadow clones. He knows what's up. He knows he's on the stage. He wanted a little bit of extra time. But every boss in this game... Also, we can... slowing down time on the speed... on those slow-mo sections... actually speeds up their death animation, so you want to do that whenever bosses are dying. So you just get a faster death animation. It's interesting, because it's like, oh, I guess that works, right? So if you hit your slow-mo power when there's already slow-mo, then it will speed up time, because it's a double negative or something. I don't know if that's how, like, time manipulation works, but that's what we're going to go with. So now we're going to skip through this text here. Once upon a time, I remembered what was happening in the story at this point, but we're going to go over here and visit our buddy in this information shop here. And Crow's going to be like, I'll come back later. And then we got to go to this alleyway here. But the first thing that we're going to do, we're not going to go there. We're going to go and get the skill rank up, and we're going to get this move called Disorder Shot. Now, Disorder Shot, we're going to get level 2. You have to progress in the game to get different levels of shots. And Disorder Shot actually allows you to target multiple enemies at once with your lock-on, and it will just like automatically do a bunch, like spray shots at them. Disorder Shot level 2 allows us to do this with up to 3 enemies. And we're going to use this on this level because we have to just clear out enemies in order to progress the stage. We're also going to blow up this bus because additional enemy waves will come out of that bus, and we want to just stop them from ever spawning. We're going to also get these guys down. We're going to take out these cars, even though they're not important to the actual clearing of the stage, but they do tend to take over your lock-on quite a bit. So I tend to just take them out whenever my lock-on goes onto them, just to avoid them ever doing that for the rest of the level. So like right here, we're just going to take this out, run over here, and there's that. Okay. And then we're just going to switch over to the loadout with the Disorder Shot on it. Snap over to these guys. Boom. We'll just do the flip kick to him. That works. That's totally what I meant to do. Sweet. All right. Now, a lot of these, again, these waves are kind of like fixed, and we're just trying to get through them as quickly as possible. It usually takes about 2.5 minutes or so. RJ, if you got anything you need to plug during this time, it would be excellent.
I sure do. We had a $100 donation from AirNav that says, let's get that secret ending, and we will, in fact, get that secret ending. We have met the Manifold Garden secret ending incentive. So thank you so much to everybody who donated towards that. Looking forward to more speedrunning goodness. And then we also have a $10 donation from Big Genitalia that says, everyone has been doing amazing runs, and this event is so wonderful. Thank you. Also, would you rather bring poop to a pee fight or pee to a poop fight? Comment really went from like 0 to 100 at the end there, but I'm not quite sure what to do with that one, but
so
maybe we'll...
I know who that is, and this is just her. That's just her 24/7. So thank you, Jenna.
Thank you so much for that. I was reading a comment. I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then I got to the last sentence, and I'm like, oh. But thank you so much. So happy that we were able to meet that incentive. If you're donating or planning on donating, the next incentive that we are trying to get to is a an incentive to make the golem dance in Haunting Grounds. Now, I've seen Haunting Grounds a bit, and I'm not even sure what this means. So please let me find out and donate towards that incentive.
Alrighty, awesome. Yeah, shit really hit the fan during that comment. I won't lie. But there we go. All right, so that is actually over now. So we're out of there. And now we have to... we're going to get paid a visit by this guy that's interested in Crow. This is actually one of the first instances where we see, like, extra dialogue options happen. Because if you go back to Crow's apartment here, he'll talk to Kiko and Judas a little bit. And then they'll be like, oh, yeah, there's a guy that wants to talk to you. And it's this guy that sells insurance. And he's like, hey, Crow, you should come work for me as a hitman. And Crow's like, no, you sell insurance. I don't want to work for you. So then we head back to the apartment and talk to Kiko a little bit more about our feelings and stuff. And then we're going to go and do the next reasonable thing, which is go back to Nachiora Avenue, which is the first level that we were at, and fight more people. So we're just going to head on in there. Now, again, Judas and Kiko are like Crow's best friends in the whole world. They're like his ride or dies. And things kind of seem a little bit rocky, but I guess that's what happens when you lead a life of crime, doing what they do. So I don't really blame them. So we're going to go back through here. This is one of the few retreads in the game, but it's actually at night. And there is, like, a little bit of differences, actually. And we're going to take out a lot of these enemies just because we're going to be able to use the kick-up move there to move around, as I was saying earlier. But the thing is that this move actually locks on to enemies, so we just don't want to have them around while that's going on. We're able to freely aim him unless there's enemies around. Some of these enemies are a little bit tankier, so we really want to make sure that we get the crits on them. A big thing with this game, too, is you'll notice on the bottom of the screen, there's a ×14. That's just the amount of bullets in the clip. I don't know if we actually fire 10,000 of them by the end of the game. I would assume so. We go through a lot of clips. But making sure that you are reloading as little as possible in fights is really important, because the reload animations and the get up animations, as we're going to see here too, are quite long, and they can lead to a lot of time loss if you are not smart with the way that you line up your shots on enemies. Because a lot of these enemies, like, you really want to just try and get them before they all spread out. So like these guys right here that are grouped up, we're going to get them. We're going to try and get these two. And there's that good. Okay, sweet. There's also these sections where we just want to make sure that we are reloading on the fly in order to save a little bit of time later on. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to head into this room. And then these enemies are going to come. We got to actually activate these guys here. Okay, cool, sweet. And then they actually came out the door. That guy's not going to be totally important until later, so we'll ignore him in lieu of getting more of the kills over here. And we'll use the disorder shot here. That's really unfortunate, again. But there we go. Because that guy was important. But now we're going to actually get an MP refill, or a gauge refill. We're going to use the disorder shot here to, unfortunately, not get control of Crow where it matters. But now we're just going to have to run to the end. This is one of those unfortunate sections where we just kind of have to run through the enemies because we just can't use Crow's movement ability. Otherwise, he's just going to go back towards them. But now we're going to get into the fight against Lightning Joe. I finally know who hired you to kill me. I gotta say, even though the JP voice acting in this game isn't phenomenal, the English acting is definitely a little more comedic than intended, I have to say. But now we're going to fight Lightning Joe, who definitely just looks like, when they go, oh yeah, the stand user could be anybody. This is like the guy that they're talking about. He just looks like a disco guy. And he says, may the best dressed win. And that's definitely not Crow, so you would think that Lightning Joe would be the one who would emerge victorious, but we're going to make sure that that's not the case. This guy just gets to ignore damage whenever he wants, really. So you also just like this, he just kind of gets to do that and then just ignore what you're doing. So it is important to at least get the crits in. This is also why like certain abilities are not crazy good against him, because you'll do like the multi-shots from the disorder shot, and he will just teleport right out of it, and you'll have wasted the MP that it took. Now that right there, he did get knocked down. We could have used a disorder shot too there, because he was going to try and charge me. We'll see if we can get it again. Oop, almost there. Sweet, okay. That guy, all right. Yeah, we did knock him out of that, actually. Nice. And now Lightning Joe is down.
Killed Lightning Joe and Disco in one foul swoop.
Truly a worthy cause. Lightning Joe ain't going out like no chump, he says. I don't know, man. Kind of did. So I do want to say the OST for this game is great. I don't know how much people have been paying attention to it, but it's a whole lot of like acid jazz and some hip hop going on here. It was actually co-composed by Miki Higashino and Yoshinoro Misuda, I believe is their names. But they are incredible. They are really awesome composers. And I've heard people say that like this soundtrack is like does not make use of their potential, and I'm like, I think this soundtrack is great. Like, funny story too, I actually read an interview with Miki Higashino, and she said that, you know, like even though she retired from composing for a while to work on like taking care of her family, she came back because she really wanted to do like this acid jazz or hip hop sort of soundtrack. And then she kind of regretted it because she felt like she made a lot more work for the people that she was working with. But I feel like she did fine. She was good. But yeah, it really just is a great soundtrack. I really feel like if this game came over to America, it would have done pretty well, especially because of how like prevalent Cowboy Bebop was at the time too. So it's pretty sick. So the town square here, again, this is going to be like a revisit sort of Keats's stage, but there's going to be now people with rocket launchers looking to take us out. There's going to be a lot more dense enemies, so we really want to make sure that we get the wave management going as well as the crit shots going. We're going to use disorder shot on these guys. This is why disorder shot is so important, is because there's a lot of enemies that form up in groups of 3 or 4. Another thing too, like esoterically with disorder shot, as long as Crow's gun is pointed at somebody, it doesn't matter if he actually locked onto them or not. He'll continue to fire at them. So there are times where you will actually get 4 for the price of 3, essentially, because you just move in such a way where they're in the line of fire. All right, we're going to actually go slow-mo a little bit here so you can get to see a little bit of the max pain. There we go. Nice. So we did that there just to salvage a little bit of that room because I did not have the MP to actually use disorder shot, and I may need to do it again here in a moment because, yep, okay. I don't want to get taken out by anybody here. All right, let me do this. All right. So a lot of the like safety strats in this game pretty much just involve using slow-mo when you're like low on health. And since we're not using like a lot of the slow-mo very often, a lot of shots that would otherwise be just projectiles, they basically are hit scan in like full motion or like at full speed. This is also a reason why playing on very easy is important, is because enemies in this game on normal and above do like, they do some damage, man. They do some damage. So not only does like very easy allow us to, you know, like enemies have less health and everything, but it also allows us to just play a little more risky overall, and that is part of what makes the run fast. Now, Papatonio here, Crow decides he's going to just go and kill him or just defeat him. He's going to, I think that actually it's revealed that Papatonio betrays him in some way. So, yeah, we gotta make short work of him. So we're going to do that by invading his mansion. And we're just going to do front flips through his lobby. Which, bold move, honestly. Given the high thread count on these carpets, I'm sure.
That's
So now we're
exactly
gonna
what I
go
was thinking. The high thread counts on the carpet.
Oh, that was probably the first thing on his mind. Not the massive amounts of machine guns in his face. He was like, I don't know if I want to mess with the high thread counts here. So this is also one of those sections where like trying to get through is interesting because you would think that taking out all these guys would be fast enough to allow us to actually use Crow's Dash to get through here. But really, we're just going to look to like not take a lot of damage because there is like a stun animation, obviously. So the risk that you run, generally speaking, going through these hallways is like, do I use the avoid technique, which is the front flip or the dodge, or do I just bet that they, aren't going to hit me and just run like just gun straight for the doors? Oh, excuse you. Okay. So now we're going to grab these guys right here. Okay, cool. Excuse you. Thank you. So now these guys are all going to get taken out there. All right, cool. So we're actually going to swap over to blind here for like one of my favorite little strats in the game. So we're going to walk up through to these guys. Okay, now they're dead. And then we can walk through. Because we just used the blind shot, and then he just did the crisscross arms. And hit them both with some bullets. He hit them with 2 of the 10,000 bullets. This game in Japan is actually called Tsukio ni Saraba, which means Farewell to the Moonlit Night, which tonally is like a completely different title than 10,000 Bullets. And it actually speaks a lot more to like some of the heavy-handed conversations that these characters have. Especially like, working for like a crime boss and everything, and some other things that are about to happen here in the next couple of minutes. But in the meantime, here is Papatonio, and this fight is actually just going to be using Disorder Shot in order to loop his stun animation, because every boss, when they take a certain amount of damage, will get knocked down. And funny enough, the combo mechanic will actually refund you gun gauge depending on how many hits you did. And Disorder Shot does a lot of hits. So you can actually just get really high combos and have it refund itself and then loop him pretty easily. So there he goes. And now he's down. Now that he's dead, surely you think, oh, everything's great. But as fate would have it, Judas betrays us. Shocking. I know.
What?
What? Oh, gosh, man. Nobody could have seen this coming. So now we're going to go into the fight against Judas, which is actually a force fail. You cannot beat this boss no matter what you try to do. There will be a point where his health gets low enough that he dodges everything that you do. But there are optimal ways to progress. So we have to stand at a decent distance from Judas and actually make sure that if he goes into a move where he's going to use his slow-mo ability, we kind of want to stand around this fountain a little bit. Because if he... Oh, yeah, he does this really cool move here, by the way. It's awesome. It's very, like, Equilibrium Matrix-esque. But we want to stand, like, right around here, because if he decides to do a semicircle near us... like this, the fountain is actually going to cut him off, and it's not going to lose us as much time, him using that ability. If he completes that whole animation, there's a ton of time lost there. But the fountain there, again, just cuts off his run, so we just lose a little bit less time. Not a great pattern, but, it works out, so. Stop! Why are you doing this? It's literally how she sounds. So, moving on to Chapter 4, there's like a little bit of a time skip here. Crow's not dead. Now he's living, I forget entirely where, but now he's living with this woman that he rescued whose name is Alice. He rescued her from people that were coming after her after they killed her grandfather. And she has the abilities of a gunslinger as well. She also seems to have stolen Leon from RE4's jacket and dyed it red, which is pretty cool. She also seems to have stolen the Red 9. So let me see here. So now we're going to buy a couple of things. We're going to buy the egg shield, or the energy shield. And then we're going to buy that one right there. And then we're going to go over to Alice here. We're going to buy a few abilities for her. We'll get into those in a moment. Probably on the next stage, actually. Now, up until now, you've seen me only really use Disorder Shot and Blind. And those are very, like, proactive abilities. Those are abilities that just use the guns in a different way. Energy Shield is quite interesting because it is an evasive tool that allows us to absorb bullets, and at level 2, it allows us to reflect them back at the enemies. Now, next, along with this bumpin' soundtrack, we're going to head into this club and get some people with rocket launchers to spawn so that we can reflect their rockets back at them and clear out this whole place, which is honestly really cool. But we just got to get these guys to unspawn here real quick. All right, that's good. All right, let's do this. All right, hang on. All right, there we go. So now, I don't think so. And now it's going to hit. Now you see on the radar there, we were watching the radar. And then that's what happened. Okay, there's one that came at us. Yeah, I kind of understand that. We're just going to use the energy shield again just because there's a lot of explosive stuff coming at us, and we do not want to get caught in the crossfire here. Because when you allow that to happen, this is what happens. But we're just going to boot it up again. I don't think so. And then all their rockets get reflected right back. Okay, so we got to do this real quick. We're going to use the slowdown a little bit here. Okay. Good. All right. Sweet. We got through there. It costs a lot, but the energy shield, absolutely worth it when it comes to being able to turn the tides on enemies, and it completely changes the dynamic of some rooms. Because otherwise, we would have had to manually just, like, dodge all those bullets and all those rocket launchers that everybody was throwing at us. But instead, we just get to reflect their projectiles back at them. We're just going to use this right here. I don't want to use too much MP, because now we're going to be able to use this right here. Just going to do this. Okay, well that didn't work out, but it's cool. Now we're just going to go ahead and dash to the end. A little bit of a rough level, but we're in there. So now we're actually going to play as Alice in the next fight. So she's a little bit different than Crow. Crow really specializes. Crow's sort of like a jack of all trades type deal. Alice really specializes in long distance combat as well as movement. Contrary to Crow, her movement ability, the Shadow Step, can be freely targeted anywhere, even if enemies are around. So we're going to actually use her for this ability, for this this level in an underground shopping center, like almost looks like a parking garage, where there's going to just be a ton of enemies around, and we're just going to fly past all of them with her using the Shadow Step. And the reason we got the second level of it is so that we can actually decrease the cost of it on the gun gauge. She can do this ability up to 3 times, but we're going to pretty much just do it in spurts of 2 in order to just avoid the cooldown on the 3rd charge. We ought to also avoid these, like, scrolls that are everywhere, because if they explode, they take out a lot of your gun gauge. They do a little bit of damage too, but the gun gauge depletion is really like the big one. We're gonna take out this one lady with the rocket here because we didn't want to. Okay, well that's fine. That'll work out, I suppose. But here we go. All right, there we go. And we're through there. So now, Crow and Alice head to this bridge to fight this guy named Little John, who's got a bunch of cronies on the bridge. Little John is, as you would guess, pretty muscular, pretty huge. But we're gonna have to take out a bunch of people before getting to him. This fight as well is heavily dependent on energy shield, and there's like explosive barrels everywhere. This fight can get pretty precarious with how many projectiles are flying at you at all times. So we're gonna do our best. We're gonna start it out by just using Disorder Shot here. Got clipped a little bit there, but that's nothing doing. So we're gonna take out all these guys. We're gonna walk forward a little bit, get all of the rocket launcher enemies to spawn, and then use the energy shield. Back at everybody. Yup, there's a lot of names off the map there. Sweet. We got to get this guy. These enemies love to hang out in the corners of the map, and they will mess you up a great deal because if enemies are too far away on the map, then their icon will disappear. And you will just not know that you did not catch them. Okay, cool. So we're good to move on. Sweet. All right. These guys as well, they will sometimes just straight up block your bullets. So it was a little bit bold of me to take that approach, but we're just going to keep going. We're going to spawn more rocket enemies here. Nice. Great. Excellent. Okay. So now we're going to actually try and get into position here because we want to get right near this barrel. Nice. Okay. Almost got the optimal there. So if Lady Luck goes your way, all of those rockets will not only hit all the enemies, but they'll explode all of the barrels, and every enemy there in that wave just gets decimated. But nothing doing. Cleaned it up. And now we're going to get into a fight against Little John. He has a big rocket launcher that fires like multi-missiles. And the big thing with him is just kind of hoping that he doesn't do too much to you, because he kind of tends to run everywhere. If we can get him to stay by this truck here, we can actually get the truck to explode on him. He actually does this too quite a lot. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna try and get him to run backwards towards this truck so that it can explode. And again, this is the problem with Little John, is that those rockets that he shoots out become like the thing that we're targeting. And so one of the shots from Disorder Shot will actually go towards it. And now this is what happens here. So as you saw there, got a little bit, some of our bullets got a little bit off course because they were automatically tracking the rockets that Little John had going off. But fortunately, we're still able to get the stun loop there. So not too bad of a fight. Pretty good, actually. Pretty good. I've been talking a lot, though. So, RJ, real quick, if you have anything.
Yeah, of course. We got a $20 donation from Marforia that says, "Hooray Cosmic and hooray Breaking the Habit. The best time of the year. Thank you to the runners and donators for supporting this amazing cause. Thank you, Mar, for the donation." And just while we have a moment, I'd like to point our attention to some of the open bid wars polls that we have going on right now. We have a bid war for Mario's outfit in Super Mario Odyssey. You can either be boxers or typical Mario. That one kind of makes me giggle. Like, just, it's like boxers, typical Mario. It's
Mario.
like, I think we all know where we're going with that one. But more importantly, there is a bid war to choose whether you're going to play as a boy or a girl in Zelda. Very tight race right now. Currently, playing as a girl is only in the lead by $5. It's $155 to $150. So if you want to swing that in your favor, now is the time.
Sweet. And thank you for the donation, Mar. Appreciate it. So now we're introduced to legally distinct Bruce Lee. His name is Dragon, in case it wasn't more clear. And he has an ability called Dragon. So we're going to use Dragon with Dragon in a dojo where there's a lot of other people using Bruce Lee techniques in order to clear it fast. So this Dragon technique is a drop kick, and you can chain it, depending on its level, up to 5 times. Here, we're going to use Dragon level 2. just for a little bit of safety, and it allows us to chain the kick up to 4 times. So we're just going to be flying everywhere at these guys. We can also do like regular melee combos, but that's a little bit useful later. It is one of like the best movement abilities in the game, actually. In the New Game Plus category, you actually use him on some of the some of the levels that you would typically use Alice, because he just zooms all over the place with this ability. But now we're just going to use this right here. Okay. And we'll get these combos going here. So just want to note, we're in a game called 10,000 Bullets. We're now using the only character that does not have guns. So for a while, it's going to be 10,000 Fists.
Great song.
It's true. It's true. So we're going to get these guys right over here. Head on over here. Take them on out. Dragon is, in terms of speed, he's quite different from some of the other characters because, I mean, number one, obviously the lack of ranged options, but also he's one of the only characters really where you don't want to upgrade his ability to like do long combos, because on the end of like the really longer combos, excuse me, this is like the, wow, they were all over the place there. Jeez. He is one of the only characters that has like a huge recovery on the end of one of his longer combos. So we actually want to keep his ability to do the shorter combo, because he will just stop short and it has very little recovery, which is why we're able to kind of just spam it on these enemies here just very quickly. And this is also the reason pretty much why Dragon is the fastest on this level, is actually because this game in a fresh file locks you out of certain characters on different stages depending on how the story progression is going. So Crow is actually not available on this stage. Excuse you. I was wondering why they didn't show up. Otherwise, we would definitely be using Crow here. And normally you would think you would want to like dragon kick a bunch of those guys coming out of the door, but you want them to all kind of bunch up. And when you dragon kick, it seems like they have a tendency to just sort of scatter. And Dragon's only real ranged option is either using Energy Shield to deflect enemies' projectiles back at them, or he can throw some knives. But those knives are pretty slow, and they take a little time to wind up. Okay.
I just want to say, when he dragon kicks, everybody scatters, and I'm like, I think I would too, honestly, if some dude was flying across the room and be like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's true. It is quite intimidating. I cannot lie. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead to this, and we're gonna actually grab Disorder Shot level 3. We're gonna grab the upgrades for the gun gauge as well as Crow's HP, probably just his bullet time as well. We want just maximum survivability here in the cafe. This is also where the game's frame rate just decides, you know what, dude, I've had a long day at the office. I'm done. I'm definitely going like under 20. All right. Definitely going under 20 FPS for this section. Because they really wanted to have like this epic sort of like bar fight in this game, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, it's like there are enemies just spawning in from on top of the map, as you can see. PowerPoint presentations being given a run for their money right now. What's interesting too about this level is that, because they're just being attacked essentially at their hideout. What's interesting about this level is that you have to destroy, like if enemies are hiding behind rows of bottles, you have to destroy the bottles in order to hit them through the shelf. A little bit, but also there's little funny stuff where like you can shoot them through the wall there if you just stick the gun through it. So it's like there's a little bit of realism, but also you're definitely still playing a video game. All right, we're gonna have to hit this guy. All right, we're gonna have to do this. We're just gonna do this little bit of slowdown there, and then we'll grab this right here. Okay, now we're... All right, I got to get the life up there. This level is just brutal, by the way, especially when like you're doing PB attempts, because there is just so much you have to keep track of at all times, and a lot of time, as you can see, like the game is doing its best, right? But there are projectiles coming from every which way, and sometimes you just get clipped by a lot of stuff at once. And then also, enemies can actually interrupt your disorder shot. So if you're going for like a big clear and they interrupt your disorder shot, that still wastes the gun gauge ammo. So you might just be out of luck in terms of like actually getting those, and then you'll have to try again and just hope that they don't interrupt you again. I've had times where enemies have just straight up interrupted like 3 disorder shots in a row, and that's just the whole HP bar, man. That's just the whole farm. All right, but we are out of there. So now that we've fended off that attack, we decide to take the fight to the enemy once again and go to the theater. And this is actually the last time that we're going to play Crow in this run, because Alice is pretty much going to take over from here. This is also definitely the most RNG heavy boss in the game, but we're going to get to her in a moment. Her name is Shirasagi, or Fan Lady, if you don't want to go the full name. But we're in this area here, and this is another big area. So like Crow can clear this area out exceptionally well. Dragon and Alice are like 30 or 40 seconds behind him, but they have slightly better fights against the boss. Crow, depending on how much the boss decides to block, can lose like a minute just randomly. But also he gains, you know, like 20-30 seconds on the other characters, so it's actually just worth it to just bet the farm on Crow. So we're gonna get these guys up here.
This level's really rude with the cards.
Yeah, right. They're just everywhere, dude. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and get these guys spawning in. There we go. And then there was another card. Speak of the devil. All right, there we go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and reload here. We're just gonna use kick up to get both of these guys out. Now, fortunately, that gun gauge up, excuse me, that gun gauge up ability, or that gun gauge up orb over there, is where we need to go anyway, because a lot of rooms in this game, the enemy spawns are actually based on where you're standing. So you have to run into pretty much every part of this level in order to get them all to... That guy came out of nowhere, dude. You have to get them all to spawn. I'm just going to go ahead and slow down again here. Nice. Okay, sweet. And when, like, we stepped there and immediately these guys spawned in. We also want to make sure that we avoid them running behind walls, because the enemies in this game do have a tendency to do that. Okay. We're going to have to get this guy out here. Okay, good. There. That's also kind of a demonstration of just how much easier the critical shots are in slow-mo. We're going to try and grab these guys coming out. Okay, sweet. All right, now... And then we grab the HP up there just to be safe. And it's also just right there. And we're going to head on in here. Excuse you. We're going to head on into the theater against Shirasagi. Now, Shirasagi's mechanic is that she can just randomly, again, just randomly block. She puts her fan in front of her face, and she's like, ho, 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 and your bullets don't do anything to you. I don't know what that fan is made of, that it can just block bullets like this, but not like punches. Like Dragon can just Dragon kick her. And we're good, you know. Or Crow, which we're going to see here probably, you can just do like his flip kick to her, and it knocks her into the air and stuff. But she also retains the blocking property, so like even though she's knocked up in the air, you still can't do anything to her there. So there's the block right there. So now we just gotta knock her down and then just roll the dice again. Okay. All right, we're gonna. Oh, there we go. Never mind. We gotta just do this. Excuse you. So this is what I was talking about. Now we're just in for a rough one, folks. We just gotta hope that she decides to be nice at some point, or otherwise we're just gonna be chipping away at her health. All right, that's fine. Now we can actually do some stuff to her. All right, sweet. If you will just continue to not block, that would be exceptional. Oh, you heard me. Okay.
Absolutely listening.
All right, we're gonna actually use the speed up there to get back our reload, and then we're just gonna go ahead and chip down again here. At least here too, we can wait for the disorder gauge to fill. All right, good. There's another knockdown there. All right, that's fine. We're gonna just use this. All right, good. Here, it's important again to make sure that you're not in slow-mo so that the boss gets up faster, because you really want her to reset her animations quicker. All right, and then for the last one here, hopefully she's gonna just... All right, sweet. Now she's down. I was really hoping she would show y'all how difficult she can be, because let's be real. She was gonna do it whether or not I wanted it to happen anyway, so I might as well have said, you know what, go ahead and do your thing. But that boss can take anywhere from like 45 seconds to like a minute and a half. It is a little absurd. It's like the one real pain point about this run, because it's like, 40 something minutes in. But nothing doing. We're moving ahead. Again, Crow is not going to be played for the rest of the run. So we're going to be switching over to Alice a lot. By the way, they started working with that insurance guy. I forgot to mention that. I guess that wasn't a deal breaker in the end. But if you get betrayed by your best friend, that probably is a bit of a paradigm shift. You might feel a little bit differently about different things, So I get it. I get it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So now Alice here, again, we're just going to be using her to get through the shopping center area, but this is going to be an extended version of the shopping center level that we saw before. This is going to take actually a lot of gun gauge management, because there are going to be spots where we're going to need to stall for time a little bit and let the gun gauge refill. Otherwise, we're just going to be a sitting duck. We're going to like move over here so that rocket goes against the wall. And it also gives us a little bit of time to refill the gun gauge. So we're going to also run a little bit here while the gun gauge refills, because you can go on this whole left side of the map and there's a whole lot of enemies that want to mess you up. And it's a whole lot of fun, trust me. That's where I went during my casual playthrough. And I remember trying to lab this level out. And I had assumed that this whole little escalator area was just like an invisible wall, right? I didn't even think to go over here. And then an enemy knocked me over here and I went, hang on a second. So now this is how the level goes. But there, we got through. That was actually pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with them. They didn't hit me once. Usually that's where they decide that every guy that previously was a stormtrooper is going to just turn into an eagle eye with those missile launchers and grenade launchers. And it's just not a fun time. So now we're going to get, for Alice, we're going to get the full auto ability as well as some other things here. We're just going to kind of upgrade her a bunch, really, because I am taking no chances with this level. Okay. So full auto with Alice gives her the ability. Usually her shots are a lot slower than Crow's, but they're more precise and they deal quite a bit of damage. Full auto allows you essentially to just unload the entire clip into an enemy at like point blank. Really at any range, but it's most effective like point blank, and it just does a ton of damage to them. And you can also just do this to them, and then you can use her melee combo while you're reloading. And then just immediately unload again. And once again, we're going to be just fighting with the frame rate here for the level.
Yeah, I was gonna
'cause
say
that
it
was
seems the frames have abandoned us once again.
yes, it is not great, but we're fortunately the great Kung Fu has not abandoned us. As you can see, we're just gonna shoulder check these guys that are in like full SWAT gear, because that's just how you get the job done, man. All right, and then all of these guys also, for some reason, are dressed like Dante when in Devil May Cry. Whenever he gets an outfit resembling his father, they're all just in those purple coats, dude, and they all look awesome. But I don't get it. Okay, we're gonna have to go and opt for some safety strats here. All right, so now we're just going to slow down time, and we're going to be keeping this state here until the health orb spawns, which should be momentarily. Oh, hold up. Oh boy, am I wrong? I might be wrong. Oh, that's not good. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Oh, hold up. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we're good. Not even close, honestly. I wasn't worried. Were you worried? I was totally worried.
No, of course not.
All right, so now we're just going to continue to play safe a little bit here, just in case, because this level has been a little uncooperative. All right. And as I said, like her ability to get off these really precise shots is great. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, that guy's going to roll. We don't want him to do that. Okay. This should be the last of them. Okay. Awesome. Okay, cool. Not my finest work, but... And now we're going to go for the second to last boss here. Again, we're going to be using Alice here. And this is going to take us through like this big sort of abandoned factory. Crow's like, all right, this is the final showdown, you know. I got like this world, this is like the second to last showdown. I'm all alone. You know, I'm going to do this like by myself. And Alice and Dragon show up and they're like, no, you're not. We're here to help you. And he's like, oh, thanks, guys. The power of friendship does, in fact, win in the end. And then for the speed run, Alice is like, I got this, dude. I'm going to just take it from here. So, big thing here, again, really is going to just be managing the gun gauge in order to get the shadow steps here. We can just ignore enemies here again. And we're going to try and get through these. But this is during this movement section. We got a couple of maybe a quick donation time here.
Yeah, sure. I mentioned the Switch bundle that we can possibly win by donating a minimum $100, but let's talk about why that's even possible and have a few words about the very cool sponsor that is Video Game Trading Post. Video Game Trading Post is a locally owned and operated game store located in Pensacola, Florida. You could go check out their newly expanded store where you'll be able to find everything from retro video games to new releases, anime figurines, plushies, and everything in between, along with a vast selection of TCG, including a plethora of graded and ungraded Pokemon cards, singles, packs, and more. You can find them on their Instagram at VGP Florida and on Blue Sky at vgtp.bsky.social.
Awesome. Very cool. That was awesome of them to provide some great prizes.
Yeah, super cool.
And now that I've gotten hit by that grenade launcher and we get to see Alice's extremely extra get up animation. we're gonna head to the boss.
She ate that up, though. I'm not gonna lie.
You're not lying. I mean, when you rock a fit that's like a combination of Maria from Silent Hill 2 and Leon in RE4, you gotta do one for the one time for the one time. I got
Yeah,
there
you got to do
eventually.
things a little differently for sure.
It's true. Now, this boss's name is Guitar Men, but it's one guy. But it's Guitar Men. Just let that sink in for a moment. I don't really know what to make of it. I only remember that his name was Guitar something. So in my splits, he's called Guitar Man. But I was like, oh, right, I need to eventually change it to Guitar Men. But yeah, that's... Okay, now he's going to get knocked down. We're going to try and get the full auto on him right here, but we're going to be going into... Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's fine. We want him to do that. Okay, good. So we want him to be getting up, and then we're going to go slow-mo. And then he's going to say that word, and then we're just going to go ahead and loop him. There we go. Nice. And he's going to say, dang, y'all. Good golly, Miss Molly. And we're going to get the full auto on him again. Okay, he's going to do that attack. Okay, good. Awesome. And he is down. So, the plural singular man has now been defeated. And now we're going to head to, for the second to last level, an aquarium. I don't remember the significance of this aquarium in the plot, but I do know it's a little bit fishy. So that's kind of why we have to go here to the end of the game. And we actually don't have to do any map movement here, so we're just going to pick Alice and just go. Again, it's the advantage that she has over Crow is her ability to freely move this Shadow Step ability. Crow, again, is just locked to enemies, so he would have to just kind of run slowly through them. The problem that Dragon has is that, number one, his damage output is not really as great as Alice. But his Dragon Kick ability, if it collides with an enemy, he will like recoil and then, land on the ground. Alice does not have to path that carefully. So there's just, less, there's more margin of error, I guess, technically for Alice. That's like, it's a little more forgiving because you can just kind of go through. But here we go. All right. We can use pretty much as much gun gauge as we want here. Excuse you. Because we got a refill right here. And then once we get into this area right here, we want to make sure that we swap. Nice. Okay. You can also have like 3 loadouts, by the way, of these abilities on you. And you can just kind of hot swap between them all. So you can really customize like the way that some of these characters play. They all have like pretty unique abilities to them. It's pretty sweet. All right, so for the last segment here, there's actually 2 different endings that you can take. We're going to take the fastest one because Breaking the Habit was kind enough to let me run this at the last second. So we're going to make good on their time as well. But so in order to get this faster ending, you essentially just pick any character that isn't Crow. Crow will actually go and have a final showdown with Judas. But Alice and Dragon are going to go to the airport, and they're just going to leave. No, I'm kidding. They're actually going to go and fight this lady whose name is Chameleon, who you only kind of see in cutscenes leading up to this point. She also gives you the most Canadian sorry, but nobody's going anywhere leading up to this fight. So she actually can mimic pretty much every boss that you've fought up until this point. So we're just kind of hoping that she doesn't do that. And then let's do this. And then this is going to be the final fight. So time will be coming up quite soon. here. But we're gonna do in the meantime. Let's try and get her stunned. All right, she summoned her little tornadoes there. We're going to use the full auto to get a lot of damage in on her, especially when she does things like that.
This is like the
Especially when
battle
she's
of the
very
most
close.
extra get-up animations of all time.
You ain't lying. All right. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot. Okay. Nice. All right. Excuse you. Oh, I thought I could actually avoid her there, but it's fine. Excuse you. All right, good. Okay, so here we go. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to have to go in slow-mo against her because she's being extra difficult right now. And that is time.
GG.
Thank you much. So that is 10,000 bullets. The closure to this is that Chameleon is defeated, and then Alice kind of goes about her life being a gunslinger. In one of the side stories you can get, she actually gets revenge on the guy that killed her grandfather, which is the way that she and Crow actually come to meet. And that's how she gets the gunslinger abilities, is from her grandfather. Crow's a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty nice guy. But there's also this cool song at the very end here, which is not befitting of a game named 10,000 Bullets, but definitely befitting of a game named Farewell to the Moonlit Night. So my name has been, and will continue to be, decosmic. And you can find me on twitch.tv/decosmic. I will be on tomorrow running Van Helsing at like 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you again to Breaking the Habit for letting me show this on such short notice. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you to everybody that's donated so far. That means quite a lot. And yeah, back to y'all.